What is up, Sales Nation? My name is Will Barron. Welcome to this week's Selling Made Simple live stream. If you are new to these live streams, my name is Will Barron. I'm founder of salesman.org, host of the Salesman podcast and a bunch of other podcasts. And I will answer for the next, what time are we on? Half an hour or so, 45 minutes. I will answer your questions, whether that's sales questions, business questions, live questions, whatever it is. What is the date? The date is the 17th of June, and I've just got it on my phone now. If you guys haven't seen, this might be the best piece of content I've consumed in the past 12, 18 months. Bo Burnham's new comedy special it's on Netflix. He's released a load of clips from it. It's on my phone because I was watching it just before we jumped on this live chat. It's definitely worth checking out. There you go. There's my top tip of the day. The way these live chats work is inside our member community over at salesman.org. I will put a post in there, and the people in the community can ask the questions. If you want to join the community, if you want to join the community even, just head over to salesman.org and you can sign up today. And I'll answer their questions first, and then I'll answer everyone who's watching this live. I'll answer your questions after that. So let's jump into it. Without further ado, it is frigging hot this week in beautiful Leeds. I think it's literally going to rain for the next 2 weeks every single day after this, though. So making the most of it. I've got the. I think last week I jumped on the live chat and was showing off my pasty legs. I'll do the same again. Whoa! I've got shorts on again this week. So another weird start to the live chat. But let's jump in. First question comes from Jackie, who asks, "Hi Will, do we get all of the new framework stuff for free as current members of the Selling Made Simple Academy? Or is it going to be a paid upgrade?" So everyone who's in the Selling Made Simple Academy right now will get the free upgrade. If you want to get it earlier than everyone else, essentially if you want to test all of the new content that we're putting out over the next few weeks or so, if you drop me an email with a video testimonial, hopefully a good one. I'll accept people who think that they've not enjoyed the product. If you do a video testimonial as well, you'll get access to all the new stuff as well. But hopefully you'll leave us a video testimonial. If you email support@salesman.org with your video testimonial, you'll get access to all the framework's content earlier than everyone else. But with that said, you will get access to it for free as a free upgrade. Stuart asks, "Yes, I would like to know this as well." No worries, Stuart. There's your answer. Lauren asks, "I have my sales manager out with me next week for the first time. It's new. She had to start a new job since COVID. What should I do to impress her? Anything I should do to avoid? Help." So Lauren, sales manager out with you, super common, no issues. Perhaps you've not even met the sales manager because of COVID yet. I think Lauren is in, I don't want to say too much, because she's not shared too much in her question, but Lauren is in field sales. So you're going to have someone out with you on the road. I would make sure that your account mapping, who you're going to see, is rock solid. I would perhaps even make sure to see one or two good customers during the day, and maybe email them, call them ahead of time and say, "Hey, look, I've got my sales manager with me. I know my sales manager is going to cramp my style, but I want them to meet you," and pitch it from the buyer's perspective that you're bringing in someone important to meet the buyer, and then pitch it from the sales manager perspective of, "Hey, I want you to meet these good customers as well." So there's, I guess, mutual benefit for everyone involved. And probably also go and see if you can, if it's within the same geographic location for you and you're not going to spend all day driving around, try and see perhaps a more difficult customer as well, and just to perhaps hopefully get some feedback from your sales manager. If they are an ex-salesperson themselves, an ex-quota carrier, maybe they can give you a few pointers that could potentially be useful. But don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're not driving anywhere again in field sales and showing up, the meeting's cancelled, things are being rearranged, or you've messed up from that perspective. That'll make you like a right tool. And then other than that, just make sure you've got a bunch of customers that can hopefully make you look good, or a bunch of potential prospects. Even better if it's a buyer that you're trying to upsell, or perhaps a competitor account that you're trying to break into, something more interesting like that. But perhaps throw in one or two customers, buyers, influencers within an account that are a little bit more difficult, that you're finding a little bit more difficult. See if your sales manager can give you a bit of a helping hand there. Okay, Michelle asks, "How is your sales / business development / marketing strategies changed over the past 12 months?" I'm sober, but I'm slightly slurring my speech for some reason. I'm not sure. I think maybe it's the heat. I'm probably having a heat stroke as I record this. How has your sales, business development, and marketing strategies changed over the past 12 months? I've really focused and narrowed down. And for anyone who's a member over at salesman.org in our Selling Made Simple Academy, you will have only probably got into the academy one way up until this moment in time, right? And that is you've consumed all of the free content. This is what we preach in the training, right? Free content. I'm putting out my insights at scale on LinkedIn, YouTube. Live conversations like this to either, it's quite binary, these kind of conversations. Either I'm going to show on one side that I've got expertise, or on the other side of the scale, depending on how you interpret this live content, you're going to think I'm a right tool. And this is why live is so good, because it's very difficult to fall in the middle in this gray area. You're either going to show off your expertise, or people are going to think that you're an idiot. So I do all this free content, these live chats, sharing insights on LinkedIn. And whenever people inquire about working with me, whenever people inquire about mentorship, anything like that, I point them towards a webinar that we do at the moment, it's every couple of weeks. But as of the end of the month, it's going to be literally weekly and maybe even bi-weekly. So I can hit 2 different time zones, Europe and US as well. And that is our business development. That is our sales process. That is our, what else did you put? Our marketing strategy. Free organic content, point to the webinar. The webinar is a killer. You can sign up for it over at salesman.org/webinar. The next one is at the end of the month. And we go through a bunch of frameworks that's within the training product. I give you all of that for free. Go through it all. I go through the fact that if you're not having success in your sales role right now, you should take accountability for it. There's value in that. But it might not be your fault, and it probably isn't your fault. So we get into that in the webinar as well. It's a cool webinar. As I said, we just do the same one over and over because it gives so much value, and we get to refine it. So yeah, that is how, in answer to your question, how has our strategies changed? I've just got more and more and more focused. I did the HubSpot Grow event the other week, and that's probably the last event. It's the last speaking gig. It's the last virtual event. It's the last podcast guest spot. I'm not doing anything other than creating, hopefully, great content for you guys, telling you if you enjoy this content, go to the webinar, and then the webinar will give you a lot of value and then pitch you on the product at the end of it. And that is essentially our marketing and sales and business development lead generation model. Now, we have a bunch of enterprise customers joined us in the past few weeks. Maybe we get like a handful of like really large accounts a year, and we just had a couple sign up in the past couple of weeks or so, and they went through that process. That is a sales leader, a VP of sales, or individual salespeople watching, consuming our content, upselling it to their leadership. Leadership asked me, hey, how can we do this? How can we work together? Can you come and speak at one of our events? Can you come and do this? And I say, no, just watch the webinar. People watch the webinar. They get almost indoctrinated into what we're doing, why we're different, and there's tons of testimonials, both screenshots and video in the webinar itself. And people come out the other end of it basically wanting to work with us, wanting to be part of the Sell Made Simple community and go through that training. So there you go. The answer to your question, what's changed? I've just got more and more and more narrow and focused on this idea of selling live within a webinar. I'm selling at scale within the webinar, but you'll see there's tons of salesmanship within the webinar itself. Ken asks, I would like to hear about time blocking. How are reps blocking out the day for emails, research, and demos? Ken, that would be actually an interesting thing for me to email the audience about. For those unfamiliar, we've got an email list, like 100,000 salespeople, and regularly I send an email like that asking for feedback, and we document it and add it to our own research over at salesman.org. That would be quite a cool thing to see. I don't know, I'd have to phrase it perhaps different to time blocking. People might not be familiar with that term. But for anyone who is unfamiliar, you have your diary, however many days of the week there are, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what time blocking is you need to get what we call your most important task of the day done. That is the one thing that if you get it done, everything else just doesn't matter. And salespeople want to do loads of stuff. They want to work long hours. They want to do 200 cold calls, 500 cold emails, when if they just emailed or called the right person at the right time, even though it might be painful, the conversation, because you might have to ask difficult questions or have difficult questions asked of you. That is likely to have a way bigger impact than just spamming the marketplace. And it could be that your most important task right now, if you're new at a company, is generating a book of potential leads and building that pipeline. Whatever it is, but you want to get the most important task done. So what I encourage you to do, what Ken is saying here, time blocking is, I say, from 9 till 11 every day this week. I'm not doing nothing for nobody other than my most important task. This is all blocked off the calendar. Customers can't book meetings. Even if it's a really important customer, well, they're going to have to book it an hour or two later. Your sales manager wants a meeting with you. Tough shit. They've got to book it an hour later on Thursday, the next day instead. Whatever it is, when you book it in your diary, whether it's, and there is some science for this that backs some of this up, your brain subconscious the night before is going to be thinking about it, especially if you plan ahead, a day or two ahead of yourself. Your brain's going to be thinking about it, processing objections, questions, what you need to do, what you shouldn't do the night before, or whilst you sleep, basically. So when you get going in the morning, you're far more likely to just jump into the task as opposed to procrastinate on it. And I am a chronic, incredibly bad procrastinator. And this idea of time blocking works very well for me. So yeah, that's what time blocking is. In answer to your question though, Ken, of how are reps blocking out their day for emails, research, and demos, I would recommend you block out the beginning of your morning, unless there's something that massively stops you doing this in the fact that you're in Europe and all your customers are in the US, so you have to call them later on in the day. Ignoring a clear barrier to entry like that, I would encourage you to get to the office, or if you're working from home, open your laptop and do your prospecting. Most sales problems, almost all sales problems, are solved by not necessarily more prospecting, but better prospecting, and it being done routinely, not just every other day, one day a week, whatever it is, doing it routinely every single day. So that you've got to do 5 hours of prospecting a week. It's far better to do 1 hour a day, time blocked at 9 a.m. every morning, than it is to do 5 hours on a Thursday afternoon, evening. So there you go. Okay. What else do we have? We'll have a quick sip of tea. Mike asks, hi Will, when someone makes an introduction and the first thing the prospect asks is, can you send pricing information, what should you do? You should, and this is dead simple, this is almost like cliche, old school sales advice at this point, just go, yeah, of course, I would love to send you pricing, more information, but I just need to know a little bit more about what you actually want pricing on. Have you got a few minutes? And then you start the conversation. Now, this is a classic sales objection. You will face it in almost every sales job, right? Think of it like this. When you walk into a shop and perhaps it's a designer store, there's someone at the door and they're going to greet you and they're going to go, hey, sir, can I help you with anything? And impulsively, most of the time, most people will go, no, thank you, I'm just looking. And then you walk off. Now, I didn't think about this. I didn't ponder whether this poor student could actually help me or not, whether they could shave 10 minutes off me finding the cable at the back of the shop, because I just asked them, hey, where's the next, where can I find a lightning cable, USB cable? Instinctively, because I didn't want to be pestered, I just said, no, thank you. And then I went on my way. I didn't process it. I didn't consciously think about the question that was asked and my response. And that is what's happening when someone says, hey, can you just send me some pricing and information over email in the post? Whatever it is, they are not consciously asking you for that. It's just being thrown out as an objection just to buy them a little bit of time, a bit of breathing room. So again, all you have to do is go, yep, no worries. I would love to send you some pricing. I can't think of anything better in the world than for me to send you some pricing and some more information on our products. But let me just understand, what are you looking for? What is your problem? What's the issue? Whatever the next line is, and then go into a bit of discovery. And it could be that your discovery is 13 seconds long, you ask 2 or 3 more questions, and then you say, hey, rather than me just sending you the pricing here, why don't we just arrange a call tomorrow, 10 minutes, and I can dive into this a little bit deeper, and perhaps I can add a little bit of value. That's all you have to say. And from it's almost like a game of ping pong, right? So like going back and forth. When you do this a few times, you're going to get these objections. There's tons of them that come up all the time, like this one. It's going to be thrown in your direction, and you're then subconsciously, unconsciously going to ping it back and put it back in the buyer's direction. Again, you'll do this a handful of times and it'll become dead simple and seamless for you. Okay, Killer Content asks, which SaaS sales will be the best paid sales career in the next 20 years as well? This is quite a common question. I feel like I answer this one regularly. you want to get into anything, and this sounds like bad for humanity. It's going to be good for your bank balance. You want to get into anything where there's automation. It could be self-driving cars. It could be any technology or SaaS platform. Because remember, SaaS goes a lot deeper than me buying video editing software from Adobe on a SaaS model, right? SaaS goes far deeper than that. Of Adobe will be paying Google Cloud access to the data centers and data servers. So that'd be on a SaaS model, a monthly model that Adobe are paying. They probably would go deeper than that. Of Google probably maybe don't even, I don't know this for a fact, but maybe Google don't own all the hardware. They rent the hardware on a monthly basis from Dell. And then Dell will do this with a license from this and that. So SaaS goes a lot deeper than just the surface level. But I'd want to be looking for ways that I want to be looking at categories and segments of industries where we're going to be automating. So where I was going with this was, you could be selling software to Uber that's going to enhance their self-driving capabilities. And so if you can get rid of Uber drivers and have a self-driving car, Uber are going to become even more incredibly profitable. I hesitated then because I don't know how profitable Uber is. It could be one of these startups that just consume cash at all costs and just try and grow. But something like that would wipe out a huge line on the profit and loss on the balance sheet of Uber, just getting rid of a ton of kind of salary costs and employee costs from drivers. And so something like that is really valuable. Anything where you're automating, whether it's computer game development, if you've got codeless tools, so now we don't have to hire developers, we can have graphic designers and the creatives work more intuitively on the game itself. So we wipe out a bunch of coders, anything like that where we're automating. That is where you want to be in the next 10 years. Never mind, 20 years is too far to predict. 20 years ago, we didn't have an iPhone. We didn't have mobile technology in our pockets. So it's difficult to predict 20 years into the future. SaaS might not even be a thing then. Who knows what the latest market mechanisms and the most effective ways to implement code software. But yeah, anything to do with that. VR, if you can get into VR in a commercial perspective. So VR in industry. So they weren't a direct competitor, but there was a brand or company called DaVinci. And they made, when I was in medical device sales, I was selling endoscopes, camera systems to the NHS here in the UK. DaVinci were selling basically robotic camera systems. Robotic surgical systems. So the patient would lay on the back, they had all these like robotic arms, and the surgeon was either the far side of the room or even the next room, essentially with his head in this VR goggle headset, doing all kinds of crazy procedures. That is not necessarily, well, it is eliminating probably a bunch of nursing staff and different jobs, but it's also automating a lot of the surgical process. So yeah, and reducing costs and making things safer. So anything like that. That's an example of VR in the industrial space, in the commercial space, in the business space. Anything where you're automating VR and commercial, that is where you want to be. That was a long answer to a short question, but hopefully that's useful. Deepak says, selling using pain and problem is easy. How to sell using desire? So it depends what you're selling, right? What would be an example of this? If you're trying to, as I'm after a new car at the moment, I don't know whether to just go and get something stupid like a Range Rover, total waste of money, just pointless, probably way more unreliable than the nice car I have right now. I've got a nice BMW, right? Or do you know whether to go more sensible and get an Audi Q5? Now, to sell me on the desire side of things, you just go, look, you're going to get out of this car, you're going to look like a badass, show me some friggin' just market to me. You don't even have to sell me. Market to me some celebrities getting in and out of Range Rovers with sunglasses on, and they've got a Barber jacket on, and they've got a golden retriever in the back of it. Whatever it is, sell me on that lifestyle, and you can easily sell desire. But my question to you, D-Back, is why do you want to sell on desire? Selling against pain is easier. It's probably more effective. Most people are wired, and again, there's quite a lot of data to support this. Most people are wired to move away from pain rather than towards desire. So if we have here, this is essentially this is the status quo. I can't spell today. And you want to move someone away from the status quo. The status quo is this point where the person feels stuck. They know they want to make a change, but they really either just can't be bothered, or they've not had a big kick in the arse, or they've not had this wide-eyed paradigm shifting moment of excitement that's going to force them one way or the other. Now you can either sell them against pain, or I'll put pleasure on that side. Well, this is not a very good diagram, but this line really is here. It's way easier to get people to move for pain versus all that distance to get to move for pleasure. So in answer to your question, don't bother. If you can sell them on pain and problem, that's going to be the easier, more effective solution. There you go. Okay. What else do we have? Okay, DT asks, I have a great closing rate in sales meetings, but I seem to always get hang-ups and much worse response when I'm cold calling. How can I fix this? This, unfortunately, is part of the game, right? So when you're in a sales meeting, the buyer has given you permission to engage with them, right? We're now in permission-based set. I'm making this up, the terminology, but it's quite good terminology. I wonder if someone else, this is a good title for a book, permission-based selling. At the point of a sales meeting, you've either been invited in or there's been a meeting booked in the calendar. The buyer has seen something in you, the product, your pitch, the cold call that sets up the meeting. And so you're already way further along the trust building process than when you just cold call someone. When you cold call someone, you're doing interruption selling. You're annoying them. You're pestering them. If you cold call me now, and I encourage anyone who thinks they can get hold of this number, right, and cold call me live on air. I would freaking love it if someone did that live on the show. You're gonna annoy me. You're gonna wind me up. I'm starting the conversation on the how can I get rid of this person, unless it's Jeff Bezos' number coming up on the phone, and I'm going, oh crap, yeah, I would love for Amazon to buy salesman.org and use our training internally. Other than that kind of thing, you're already miles behind. So in answer to your question, part of cold calling is unfortunately just sucking it up because it's not the best. It is one of many options, one of many ways to outreach to people, but you're doing it cold. What I would suggest, if you're sick of getting hung up on, if you're sick of having... The problem with cold calling is that you can potentially burn through a marketplace. I'm in medical device sales in Leeds. I only have 100 surgeons. If I start cold calling all these suckers and they start hanging up on me, well, now I'm the annoying salesperson, and immediately 25 of the surgeons that I could potentially engage with will never speak to me again because I've pestered them on a cold call. So that's the issue with cold calling. What I would suggest you do is send a cold email beforehand, add them on LinkedIn, do some social selling, do something, anything to warm up the call just a little bit before you make that initial call, just so you can say, hey, it's Will here, yada, yada, 1, 2, 3. I've got this valuable thing for you. I sent you an article. I'm just following up on the article to see if you got it, if there's anything else I can do to help. That's a better warm call than, hey, I sell this product. Do you want to speak with me? Do you want to book a meeting? So yeah, people have strong opinions about cold calling. I guess I have a relatively strong opinion. I think it is annoying. I don't want to start a business relationship, especially if we're doing larger deal sizes, like I do with the training that we do, the corporate training, and like I used to do in medical device sales. I don't want to start a relationship on the back foot. I want to start it with trust. I want to start it with me proving that I'm an expert and proving that I can add value to a conversation. Harry asks, close to 50,000 subscribers, what are you going to do when you get to 50,000? Where are we? 47. I've got a screen up here that I can see the camera on. 47.3. That is a little bit mad, isn't it? It always blows my mind. So we get like 700,000 downloads on the podcast every month. So if people are downloading multiple episodes, there's easily 100,000 people who consume the podcast audio content. But for some reason, this sucker on here that counts up with the YouTube subscribers genuinely blows my mind. 50,000 people is like a football stadium, right? I think that's about right. Maybe a medium-sized football stadium. Were like numbers of people that have gone, oh, this guy isn't a complete dick. I'll listen to some of this, and they've clicked that subscribe button on YouTube. And obviously, well, it's not obvious. If you don't have a YouTube channel, maybe you don't realize this. But all the views that we get, we've had millions of views on YouTube, only about 30% of the people who consume content on our channel are subscribed. So actual people watching videos and stuff is way higher than this, which is insane. It kills me. So yeah, you're right. What can I do? Leave some comments if you're watching this live. If you're watching this after the fact as well, drop a comment below the video. What should we do at 50,000? What would you guys like me to do at 50,000? I'd be up for either just doing something daft, which is a laugh, and I'd look stupid doing it, especially with COVID kind of travel being a bit more appropriate now and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, let me know if there's something stupid you want me to do. I'm happy to embarrass myself, do something daft. Or if there's someone you want me to get back on the show from a previous interview, something like that, I'd be more than happy to make a big deal out of it. I think we should. Something I don't do regularly enough is celebrate our wins. So there we go. What else do we have? Alex asks, hey, Will, I love your videos. I love you, Alex, for joining us on the live chat. Was that a big forward? Was that a bit weird? I appreciate you is probably a better way of describing it. Okay. I've lost where we are now. Alex says, hey, Will, I love your videos. I appreciate you, Alex. I'm a real estate agent in Ontario. I wonder if you have any tips to convince someone to sign an agreement with you. So I focus more on B2B sales, where you don't really have to push for a close, versus B2C, which I assume you're in. Maybe you're in commercial real estate, I'm not sure. To convince someone to sign an agreement with you, feel free to comment below, Alex, if any more feedback on this, mate. What is the hang up? Why does someone not want to sign an agreement with you? And I guess from your perspective, is it fine if someone signs a week later, or maybe you don't get the commission because it goes to someone else if they sign with someone else? Or is competition that fierce that you feel like with car salespeople, once people leave the showroom, the chance of them come back is like 50%. So car salespeople want to get people roped into the contract on the spot. Leave me some feedback. Otherwise, I guess I'm just guessing at your situation there, Alex. And I'll see if I can help you if you leave another comment. Deepak says, I sell interior. Okay, so this is Deepak talking about or asking about selling desire versus selling pain. I sell interior designing to homes and construction companies. Basically, I help them make their homes more beautiful. It's a tough market. It depends. That's a tough market depending on who you're selling to, right? So the only anecdote I've got here is I've had a couple of dog trainers come round over the past few weeks, and one lad came around the other day. Really liked him. I'd love to have him train our dog, or help me train Walter the dog. And we're talking about sales and stuff at the end of it, and he was asking me about the closing process, and he sold me on one training package, and then he said, I guess he was humbly saying, hey, maybe I should have done this one, and maybe he was nervous about the sales process. I don't know what it was. But he did the right thing. He sold me on the right package. Now, I'm not particularly price sensitive. Maybe I wouldn't say this to his face, but he could have charged another 20, 30 quid an hour, and I wouldn't have even realised, because this is what we were talking about before, Deepak. The desire of having Walter, our golden retriever, be an incredible dog, and also the pain of, I'm going to go back to it, the pain of Walter being a shit dog, going barking at people, running around at, like, he would never attack someone. He doesn't bark, but he jumps at people. So that's a behavior we're trying to knock out of him. This dog trainer, if he was trying to sell me, if he was trying to convince me to sign a contract there and then, which he didn't, but perhaps he could have done for the training sessions, upcoming training sessions, he would have been far better leaning on, hey, we can solve these problems. You don't want, and future pace it a little bit. You don't want your dog jumping up right now. It's a pain in the ass. But imagine in 12 months, when he's even bigger, when he's adult size, you can have your friends and family reluctant to come over. I would still go down this pain element of the sales process, as opposed to talking about him be this wonderful dog. And you can offset one and the other and go back and forth. Nancy Duarte has a great book. I think it's called Resonate. And she studied a lot of influential speeches and talks, and she found this, that you go from where we are now to future pace to where we are now, future pace, like Martin Luther King, JFK, loads of famous speeches from different politicians and influential people over the years. They go from where we are now to where we're going, where they are now to where we're going. So I'd have a think about how you can do that, Deepak, in your sales process, whether we're going from, well, this is your home now, how do you feel about it? And people are going, well, it's probably all right. And this is where we go back to this idea of status quo. People are thinking, yeah, it's okay. It's not the best thing in the world. So we've got to shift them, right? So then we're going to start talking about, well, what do you want to have? You need to do discovery. What do you want here? What lifestyle do you want to live? Who's going to be coming around? In an ideal world, what would open questions? In an ideal world, what would this room be used for? Is this, and you can lead them slightly, I guess, of, are you going to have parties here? You're going to do this, you're going to do that. I'd be wanting to get them to talk themselves into, after me asking question after question after question after question, them going, yeah, I really want this. And the value you're adding is you're helping them and you're guiding them towards really clarifying what they want. Because most people, I like interior design. I like buying stuff for the house and that, and doing the office space and all that kind of things. But the problem I have this gap. This is what you're going to be filling. I know where I am. I know where I want to be. I can look at a magazine and I go, that's what I want here. The gap that I have is I don't know how to get there. And that's the value that you can add. So you want to encourage people. You want to look at their current reality. You want to get out of them the bigger, brighter future reality. And there's going to be some kind of block in the way. It could be budget, in which case you can come along and go, well, I've got these contacts that can get you through this problem. We can go around it. We can go under it. We can go over it. Whatever it is, we can get through these blocks. So your goal, whether you're selling on desire or you're selling on pain points, is find out what their current reality is, what their current space is like, how they use that space, what that space makes them feel when they walk into it. If it's a crappy, grubby room in a big house, if you're selling luxury designing, right, that might make them feel crappy. They might look at it and go, I thought I was going to be a success when I bought this house, but I feel like I'm not quite there yet. Whereas this bigger, brighter future reality, the ego might be wrapped up in all of this. And if you can get them over these hurdles, then you're going to get the deal done. Again, a long-winded question. I guess I was working that out as I went along because I don't really focus on the business consumer side of things. But yeah, you want to do discovery. You want to suss out where they are, the bigger, brighter future reality that they want to get to, what's blocking them, and then this is where you add. Oh, where we go. Let's get a pen up. This is where you add your value as a salesperson. You get them through these blocks. You get them past that status quo. Okay. There we go. Answer a few more, then we will wrap up. Okay. Sean asks, what do you think would be a great strategy to get clients for a higher ticket service? We charge 100 grand minimum for our packages, but also generate usually 10x ROI for our clients. So if that is true and you've got data on that, you need video testimonials. This is a massive focus for me right now. Everyone who's watching this, who's a member of the Selling Made Simple Academy, is going to be hounded. And you're going to get a ton of bonuses and cool stuff for sending over a video testimonial. And I've got a bunch of them already. I've probably got enough already, but I'm going to keep going at them. Video testimonials are the future of big ticket sales because it's one thing for me to sell you on something. I can probably do a pretty good job on convincing most people and influencing most people, most things, if it's a somewhat reasonable fit for them. But having a bunch of your peers that you hopefully recognize from your industry, hopefully they dress the same, they look similar, demographics, geographics, all this kind of thing. If you see a bunch of people, that is social proof, and we're hardwired to go, they're doing that. I should probably do that as well. There's a pack mentality built into all of us, whether we like it or not. So if you're selling large deal sizes, I used to do 50, 100 grand, 200 grand deals all the time, medical device sales. That's what I'd be looking for because the video testimonials scale. You only need 5, 10 of them, and then you can reuse them for the next 5 years until the clothes that the individual were wearing were clearly out of fashion. So I'd have a look at that. And then I'd also be looking at content marketing, like really seriously. If you can generate, a lot of this depends on what your margin is. If you charge 100 grand and it costs you 90 grand to deliver your product or service, you've only got 10 grand to acquire a customer, and that's difficult. What we do at salesman.org, the product is 3 grand. I can outspend basically anyone in our marketplace to acquire customers. So we can use paid advertising when a lot of what are so-called competitors who charge 200 quid for a training product just can't. So we can charge more, we can deliver more, and we can use more paid methods to acquire customers or spend more on paid methods to acquire customers, and the paid methods are always going to scale. So we're getting into marketing now as opposed to sales. But on the sales side of things, you need some kind of content marketing. You need some kind of insight. Maybe it's insight selling within your sales process as well. You need to separate yourself from the competition. And if you genuinely are generating 10x ROI, you want to do, as a salesperson, customer interviews. And it's your interview. It's not the business's interview. If I was generating 10x ROI for all of our customers over at sales, well, maybe I need to eat my own dog food here and do some customer interviews. 3 or 4 of those, that's massive ammunition to sell a buy on. Cut it up into smaller chunks, timestamp it, put it on YouTube, put it wherever. It only matters if it gets friggin' 3 views a year and you have 4 or 5 of these customer interviews. That will do a lot of the selling for you. There we go. Sean carries on to say, we're currently having trouble scaling up because we do a combination of cold calling and LinkedIn messages. Look, if you're trying to do $100,000 deal on the back of a cold call, that is a problem. Now, unless you've got great data to tell me otherwise, right? Which you may have, which is fine. You might tell me that we have a salesperson in a room, $100,000, $50,000 commission, $150,000 a year. We're paying them. All they do all day is cold call, and they generate $3 million in revenue, and everything's hunky dory. In which case, maybe it's time to scale your cold calling and do more of them. Probably that's not the situation as you're leaving this message, Sean. I would seriously rethink cold calling as the initial outreach method. LinkedIn messages can work, but I would seriously think if you're charging $100,000 minimum for your packages, I'd be seriously thinking about content marketing, the HubSpot methodology, right? Produce the best content in the space. I've got a problem. How do I solve the problem? I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to Google it. And more frequently now, I'm going to search for a podcast on that topic and I'm going to listen to it. Now, if it's me that you're watching on YouTube, if it's me that you're listening on the podcast, if it's me that's less frequently, because we don't do so well on the kind of SEO side of things, search engine optimization on the website, and you go on, but you do find an article from me telling you how to solve the project, they're going to ring you. Or you can Facebook pixel them. You can all do all kinds of cool marketing stuff to get their attention over the longer term with paid advertising. But that's what That's what I'd be looking at doing. Yeah. Sorry about that. If you've got a massive team of salespeople cold calling and sending messages, I'd be looking at content marketing. Okay, we will wrap up there. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. We're wrapping up because I am getting hot and I want to take the jumper off. I'm not sure how sweaty I am underneath it, to be frank with you all. So that was this week's Selling Made Simple live chat. If you have any questions, if you're watching this after the fact, you're not watching it live and you want me to answer your question next week on next week's show, then leave it in a comment below this video, whether you're watching this on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, the Selling Made Simple Academy community page, wherever you're watching this, leave a comment and I will potentially answer your question next week. So with that, everyone have a great weekend. Have a great Friday tomorrow, and I'll speak with you next week. Cheers, everyone.